you were around 10 Jaguars off seasons, right, during your time here. I don't think the franchise has ever had a bigger offseason, right? With the extensions for Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence, the stadium deal getting done a week ago. So now the fans that have been teased and taunted about where this team is going to be in the next 10 years, like those kind of things, they get London hung over their head by other fan bases. You know, they've been dealing with that for a while around town, Donovan. Well, now they can tell them all to shut up. You know, when they hear those kind of things, it's like they're here for another 30 years.
Right.
You know, so the fans have that solid now in their heads, and they just paid an extension to what I think is going to wind up likely being the best defensive player in franchise history in Josh Allen, their best quarterback in franchise history, and Trevor Lawrence by the time he gets done with his contract. Just for you as an alumni player with his franchise still in town, watching all these things, what has your reaction been to everything you've seen this team do in this offseason?
No, I've been excited. I've been excited ever since Doug Pederson came on board. I mean, everything starts with leadership, and he's been a great leader, I felt, as a head coach, especially dealing with what he's had to deal with through after COVID stuff and, just the transition and building a team with whether it's coaching staff or the players and building around his franchise quarterback. And so I'm excited. I think the additions that they got this offseason, especially with, the wide receiver, and I think our wide receiver crew is probably one of the strongest units that we've probably ever had here, especially with the addition of Gabe Davis and, Brian Thomas and, all the new guys. I mean, that's one. I mean, our defensive lineman, has been, that front has secured up everything, especially with the new kid, Eric, and with Josh, and, and we still got Trayvon, Walker. I mean, so we're building things that when you looked back at our years, the 98, 99, what you saw units of the team that there was no gaps in. You saw units that could take over and dominate. And I think for us, like our wide receiver core, Trevor getting his long-term contract and feeling secure in the commitment of this team towards him, and our defensive line, and even our defensive backs. I mean, with Cisco coming back as a leader back there, and then some of the new guys that they brought on. Again, I just think that we have a great opportunity from a football standpoint to really try to do the things that we wanted to do. Now, the last couple of years, we had those opportunities, but I think in some way, some shape, they kind of overachieved with what they had. But I think right now they're going to have the roster that can, with the experience of guys that can really do those things to probably hopefully take us later into the playoffs. And it pertains to the city as a whole. I mean, I love Jacksonville because Jacksonville always loved us. Like they're basically saying no matter what we have, whether it's the Gator Bowl that we're running from the city, whether we're in the dungeon of locker rooms, where there's no windows or nothing. Now they're putting all this money into it. They're making a commitment. And so I think for the city as a whole, especially with the investment of Shad Khan, with the waterfront, the riverfront, and all that stuff, I think it's big. It's large things. It's big things to come. And so Jacksonville has a tremendous opportunity and right to feel excited about what the Jaguars doing. And so we can only hope and imagine and look forward to what it is that they're going to do. But I think right now, with all the things that they've done, whether through free agency or through the draft, with the coaching changes, I think we have a great opportunity to really do something special here.
We will usually ask you about Andre Cisco. You mentioned him a moment ago when we get the chance to chat with you for a lot of reasons, Donovan. He's playing safety. He's a Syracuse guy. You guys are connected in our minds for all kinds of reasons. He's entering the final year of his rookie deal. What is it like playing in a contract year? You had to do that way more than you would have liked to,
right?
With all the franchise tags in your career. But what is it like going into a contract year as a player, and what are your thoughts on Andre through the first 3 seasons we've seen of him?
All right, so I'll just take the first part of it. What is it like being on a 1-year contract? Yeah, of course, I had basically 4 of those, 3 franchise tag years, and then 1 of my final rookie year. And I think in that situation, it comes down to faith over fear. You know what I'm saying? Or fear over faith, however you want to look at it. And it really comes down to, do you go into this last year and you think that it's all just about you and you put so much pressure on yourself? Or do you say, you know what, you have faith and say, I know I belong in this league and I'm willing to prepare myself for what is a task at hand. And then you go out and you do what you can do and you control what you can control. I was fortunate because during those times, like you have no idea. You're going out here and you don't know if you're going to have a great season, if the team's going to have a great season, but you just have your faith and you just go out and you just prepare the best you can. And so for him, my recommendation, suggestions to him is, Andre, just do what you continuously do. Prepare, go out and perform. As it pertains to his career, I think that he's done a great job of evolving into a leader. I think the guys definitely really respect him. The guys around the league respects him. He's in this generation, he is a hitter based off of what you can do to hit people, guys.
He's an enforcer,
enforcer nowadays. And so I think he has tremendous opportunities. And in Jacksonville has been showing, it's great for him that they're willing to compensate guys and try to keep those core guys. They're always a quarterback on the offense, quarterback on the defense, and quarterback on the defensive line. And so they've shown with Trevor, okay, we're going to secure him. With Josh, we're going to secure him. And hopefully do the same thing with Andre.
Yeah, we'll see. It's, we all have the question in our head, who's next, right? Among the guys that can get an extension, Andre's one of the guys that's talked about. Tyson Campbell, one of the guys that's talked about. He had to deal with all those injuries last year. So it may be look, as we've talked about with Tyson throughout this offseason to this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the team would like to get him locked down on a long-term deal. I'm not sure they're willing to offer what would get him to say yes yet, right? Like, it does feel like he's kind of in that space of, here's the offer they're willing to make. Let's see what happens in 2024. Yeah, because he's a talented enough player to get really well paid at the position.
And again, there's certain positions that they feel like there's a surplus of guys that can do it.
Sure.
Now, granted, you become elite because you're an elite player and you do the things that elite players do. And then there's a lot of great players too. And I think sometimes in some of those position cornerbacks, they're not looking to have the elite of the elite to pay that type of money, but they're looking for somebody that can come in and they can do all the things they need to do because the game has changed. And I think as the game changed a little bit, it's not so much about just lockdown corner. It's a lot of zones that teams play now. It's a lot of combinational coverages that people play, which for defenders and for defenses, it doesn't require a guy to be a Deion Sanders or a Darryl Green, or guys like that locked down so much. And so they're looking at what you do as a whole and how much you can contribute as a whole. And so I think that's how some of the guys are going to be measured. You take a free safety or somebody like Andre, they're looking for guys, who can command the defense, but then who also can cover a lot of ground. You know what I mean? And so if there's like about 70 plays, here's a rating that safeties get rated on too, and even players. How many plays are there, and how many plays are you involved in? And so if you have a high efficiency rate and efficacy rate, meaning that you're being involved, whether tackles, whether assists, whether pass breakups, interceptions, then that means that these are the guys, and that's what they said was attributed to me being a franchise player. Donovan, you're involved in about 30-40% of the plays. You're around, you're in, and I think those are some of the numbers that teams look at when it comes to who are the key guys you want to have as a safety. But from a cornerback standpoint, because they're usually one side or the other, they don't look at from there. And so they kind of look at them as a kind of a dime of a dozen. But I think they also look at the guys in terms of, hey, we want an elite, we want a great guy, not so much necessary we need an elite guy.